this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So we're here for the first episode in our Beginner's Junk Journal series, and I thought that it would be helpful to kick off with a few kind of bits of information really as to how a junk journal can be used, terminology that you might kind of hear being talked about and things like that. So first thing really is, what is a junk journal? And I know that Joie De Fi has recently done an awesome video that was really super informative, giving a kind of detailed explanation as to, you know, what defines a junk journal. When I first kind of stumbled across junk journals, again, I felt really they, you know, or it seemed that they were kind of to be made from junk. But having watched obviously some videos, you know, straight away I kind of very quickly realised that they were far from just using junk. Of course, most of them do incorporate some form of, you know, recycled materials. It may be old clothes or, you know, maybe junk mail envelopes, maybe old books, things like that. But most junk journals, I think, these days contain, you know, a variety of things that are recycled and also incorporate new things, that being maybe digitals or scrapbook papers, things like that. I'm going to quickly share with you my junk journal. This was from our holiday a couple of years ago. So it was just literally a soft cover journal made from an envelope. And this is the basis of it. We have kind of a massive pocket on the inside. Again, kind of put a little tag in there for journaling, and then, you know, filled in what we did basically on our holiday. And I've got a variety of little pockets and tags and pull out bits and pieces. I mean, I have to say I still haven't really finished this. So I can put photographs and things like that from the holiday on the back of some of these tags and things like that. But, you know, I've got a nice mix of flowers, pockets, tuck spots, fabrics, all sorts of things in here. My kids have obviously filled bits in as well. You know, just a really nice way to kind of record our, you know, our holiday. Now, this is what we call a one signature soft cover journal. So soft cover, obviously, you know, self-explanatory. It's a soft cover. The signature refers to the pages that are stitched in to your journal. So if I just take my center, if I can find it, okay, here. Basically, you can see I've stitched them in just using some embroidery thread. I've used what we call a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Again, there's lots of tutorials and things on how to bind your journal. This is not what this video is. This is just an overview of, you know, terminology and different types of journals and different types of things that you're going to hear kind of talked about. But yeah, you just stitch in your signature. So my signature in this particular instance has been made up of literally, these are magazine pages, which I painted with household paint. I mean, I've shown this journal before and I've done this technique before on my channel. Again, and there's a playlist, I think it's called Creating Your Own Holiday Journal, where we cover this in much more detail. But as you can see, they are household paint and they are perfectly, you know, able to be journaled on. So, you know, it's quite a nice, easy way to make them. And I tend to just kind of get, you know, however many pages feel right. So in this one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages, which once they're stitched in, you know, folded over and stitched in, that is then 18 pages or 36 sides in my junk journal. So, you know, just those 9 pages become quite a, you know, quite a hefty amount of pages, or a good amount of pages for journaling. And of course, you've got lots of, you know, pull out pieces and journaling cards and, you know, tuck spots and little foldy pieces like this and things that, again, you can add more journaling. So it's not just about your pages, but also all the little bits that you've got around in your journal that all add to the journaling space, what's known as the journaling space in your journal. And, you know, I personally would incorporate, you know, photographs and journaling. Obviously in this one, I've yet to actually get around to printing my photos, even though the holiday was, you know, a couple of years ago now. But that's just me, just, yeah, lack of organisation. But eventually I will get round to putting our holiday photos in here along with our journaling. This here is just some fabric, which I have used as what we call a closure. And basically, I mean, you can see this journal's not too fat. It's laying pretty flat anyway, but just in case it were flopping open or anything, I've just tied some fabric round as what we call a closure, just to keep it, you know, all held together. So that's that journal. And I had used in there a variety of scrapbook paper and some children's books and things. So this here, again, this is another journal which I made a long time ago. Still haven't got round to using it. I'd made it for myself, you know, for our family kind of memories and things. And yeah, I still haven't got round to using it. In fact, to be honest, I might just have to, you know, sell it in the end, because it's just been sat around in my craft room for such a long time. But again, you can see it's a soft cover journal. It's nice and squishy. This one is much more junky. So this one basically, I just grabbed any old stuff that was laying around on my desk and just, you know, went with it and incorporated it into the journal. Again, I think I did use magazine pages for my pages, which is something that I really like doing. And then I just literally grabbed any old stuff and put it in here. So I've got a variety of children's book pages. I've got just little scraps that were laying about. I've got fabric, stickers, banners, ribbons. I've got some denim pieces in here, staples, sheet music, all sorts of things going on in this journal. Literally just getting, you know, any old bits and bobs that were laying about and just putting them in. And to be honest, I love how this came together. I kind of tried to tie it in by, although I was just grabbing random stuff from around on my desk, it's got somehow some sort of cohesive feel in that most pages or every few pages has a recurring theme. So be that maybe the children's book images, or maybe like the reds and the purples and, you know, these types of colours. They are then visible kind of throughout the journal. So although it's very eclectic, and although it's, you know, far from what I would call a matchy journal, it's still got quite a kind of, you know, cohesive kind of feel to it, and not like a thrown together feel. So that's that one. And the other thing that I did, was I just painted roughly over a lot of the pages. So after I'd put things in, I just kind of very roughly painted on the pages, which again then brought it all together and gave it a much more sort of cohesive feel, you know, to keep the flow of it kind of in the same sort of style. And then the closure for this one, I had this like elastic kind of stuff here, and I just literally, I've glued this around at the back, and then it just goes onto the front cover. So that's that one. And all of these, these are just kind of a standard envelope. So they turn out approximately 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 by 9 inches ish. But again, you know, there's no hard and fast rules, I think. You can just kind of go with, you know, whatever takes your fancy. Or whatever you have to hand. If you've got smaller envelopes, just go for that. You know, there's loads and loads of different things that you can do. So that's that one. Then what we can move on to is you've got your altered book kind of journal. Actually, before we do that, your altered book kind of journal. Now, this one here, my very first journal that I ever made, my first junk journal that I ever made, was an altered book. My son, I know I've said this lots of times before, he made one at the same time as me. This is his. I have sold mine, so I no longer have it to be able to kind of share it with you. But he made his one at the same time, and this is how his turned out. I mean, obviously he was 10 at the time, so 1 or 2 bits aren't you know, so neat really as we would kind of hope that they would be. But I mean, he did a pretty good job. And again, he's just used all sorts of things, some matte paper, lots of scrapbook paper, lots of stamped images, ribbons, all sorts of, you know, goodies and things in here, flowers, lots and lots of things just to give it, you know, a lot of interest and, you know, lots of nice things to look at. Lots of nice things to pull out and, you know, lots of things to give it an interactive kind of feel. So that's your altered book type of journal. Oops, sorry, I just now hit my cup of tea. And then this journal here, it's another book that has been used as a journal. But this one here is, rather than being an altered book, this is a book that has been all the pages removed, and then the spine of the book has been reinforced, and then actual signatures have been stitched in to the book. I hope that makes sense. So whereas these journals, oops, that I had pulled in here, these are, you know, one signature journal. They have got one bunch of pages stitched in to this outside cover. This journal here, this was my first ever, you know, hardback book that I've reinforced the spine and made into a journal. It's the first one that I've done with more than one signature. And I only did this, I think it was only last year. Certainly it was quite recent. Because the thought of actually doing kind of multiple signatures did terrify me. It still terrifies me now. So I've only done, you know, I think two more of these. You know, I'm very, very new to this style of journal. But basically, if I just kind of show you what this is. So we've got obviously the reinforced spine. And then here we've got one bunch of papers. And you can see there, they've been stitched again in the middle, just like that one signature journal. And then we've got the second signature, which again, it's just a bunch of pages, which again, they've just been folded over and stitched in like that. So signature 1 and signature 2. So that's that one. And then we've got one of my favourites to do, and I know I've talked about this lots and lots of times. We've got a ringbound journal. Now the ringbound journals, they're always my favourite to make, definitely my favourite to make, because they are so forgiving. They allow you to be really flamboyant, really excessive with your embellishments and your pockets and, you know, your lace and every other thing. Because of course they are expandable, completely expandable. So I use these massive rings. These are, I think they're 1.5 inch rings. I have these listed on my Amazon links, which are down in the video description below. So, you know, if you're wondering what rings I use, they're linked on my video description. The big rings give your ringbound journal much more ease of use. Basically, for turning the pages and things like that, it's going to be much easier if you've got the big rings. Now for this one, I've just used a closure is just ribbon here at the side, which I've just stitched some on the front and some on the back, and it just ties closed. And then obviously, I mean, I've done a tutorial on how to make this using this particular journal, so I won't go into obviously how it's made or anything, but as you can see, it is on the rings, and these are individual pages that you then can turn and use the journal like this. The beauty of the ringbound journal, and I'm just repeating myself constantly, but you can move the pages around. So if, you know, you didn't like, say, this opposite here, you can move it around and change it about. So, I mean, they're very, very good for flexibility. I always like to make my ringbound journals with a variety of these thick pages, which again, obviously I covered how to make these in the tutorial. And then what I like to do is just mix in some blank pages, what I would call your journaling pages. And the blank pages that I use as thick a card as I can get. So this I think is 250 GSM. So it's pretty thick. I just cut it down in half so that it fits on the rings like that. I use the hole reinforcers purely for decorative purposes, actually, because this is perfectly thick. It's not a flimsy piece of paper. It's pretty thick. And that's your journaling pages. Obviously, your decorative pages, they're not particularly journal friendly. You know, you haven't got much room because they're very, very heavily embellished and decorated. But they do have lots and lots of things to pull out that you can obviously journal on all of the pull out things. So, you know, although you've only got these pages, you've got lots of pull out things. And again, what I like to do is literally my kind of, you know, my go-to kind of style, I guess, is to take 5 pages, so 5 sheets of the A4 250 GSM card, cut it down in half, and I sometimes might put all of those pages, which have then become 10 because you've cut those 5 in half, either all 10 together in one clump, or as I've done in this one, I would have 5 here and then like another 5 further down in the journal, like that. So, I mean, you have actually still got really quite a good amount of journaling space in, you know, in your Ringbound journal, even when it's very flamboyant, very decorated and very full, as this one is. It's still got, you know, a great deal of journaling space in there. And as I say, the beauty of these is, of course, you could add more pages. You know, if it still wasn't enough journaling space in here, you could still add more. But I mean, you can see from the top, it's got a lot, you know, a lot of pages and things in there. So, and you also get what's called a traveller's notebook. So this particular one has been purchased from Hobbycraft over here, a shop called Hobbycraft. These are basically, what do you call this? What do you call this? Removable. That's the word. Removable. So you've got your journal, and this is the one that came with this particular cover. So this particular cover had this little traveller's notebook included. Now this has been literally stapled together. Again, it's, you know, a handful of pages forming this one signature, which then just slips into, oops, this elastic here, holding it in. And then it just closes like that. So that's your traveller's notebook. And, you know, I mean, as you can see, it really doesn't get more basic than this. It's literally, you know, just plain pages. They're not coffee dyed or anything. We've not gone for a vintage look or anything. I mean, I didn't make this, obviously. This is, you know, this is shop bought, but just to kind of demonstrate. It's literally been stapled together. So again, that's another option. You know, if you're looking to make a journal and you don't want to be stitching the signatures in, you can always make, you know, make something and just staple them in like they have here. And then again, you've got a pocket down here, and then these little pockets here that, you know, they're a bit like a sort of credit card wallet that you used to get. That type of style there. So that's another little option. And, you know, many of the, you know, what we would call junk journals, they're going to be traveller's notebook size, and they are to slot inside little covers like this. So that's another style of junk journal. So that's the overview of the journals themselves. So the other things that I thought that we could just go over just before we kind of get into our series is basically the types of things that you're going to hear referenced. So you're going to hear kind of pockets and things like that phrased. So these are all different styles of pockets. You know, in here, this one, it just happens to be shaped like a mason jar, but it is a pocket. This here, when it's not stuck on the page on 3 sides, so like these have been stuck on 3 sides, they are a pocket. If it's been stuck just like, say, top and bottom, and so your piece can come right the way through, this is called a belly band. So again, you're going to hear terminology like pockets, like belly bands, and, you know, these are just literally all these types of things are, you know, all they're referring to. You've then got things like clusters. And when people are saying clusters, basically, they are just little pieces that are literally, you know, effectively clustered up. to make decorative pieces in your journals. So this page just happens to have kind of two almost like cluster looking pieces. This one obviously incorporating fabric, lace, and this paper heart and a little bow. But, you know, your clusters really can take any form. I've just got a couple here to kind of show you as an example. So these are sort of clusters, and, you know, you could stick these onto a blank page on their own. You know, they're just lovely. And, you know, you could just literally have just a blank page with just that stuck there. And how gorgeous does that look? So clusters are, you know, a really great way to fill your journal, especially if you're kind of, you know, just starting out and things. Then what else are you going to have? You're going to have what's known as tuck spots. So let me see if this is a tuck spot. Okay, so this one is more like a tuck spot. A tuck spot, in my, you know, in my understanding, and I'm not suggesting that I'm the authority on this or anything else, you know, because the main thing to take away from this video is it's your junk journal and there are absolutely no rules whatsoever. You know, please don't kind of feel, oh, but I have to do this or I have to do that. You don't have to do anything. You can do it exactly as you like. You can just use junk. You can just use scrap papers. You can just, you know, use recycled things or brand new things. Absolutely exactly as you see fit. But just so as you know, basically, because I know that when I first started doing junk journals, you know, I felt so overwhelmed because it felt a bit like a whole new language. But a tuck spot, basically, in my understanding, is just, you know, glued basically on either two sides or one side. So this here, although is shaped a bit more like a pocket, it's behaving like a tuck because it's just literally glued on these two sides and things tuck into it. And then this one here actually has a double tuck because I've also put a cluster on here, which is acting like another tuck spot there for this little piece. So that's kind of all there is to the tuck spots. Then you've got things like what we would call flip outs. Again, you know, this is just my interpretation, my understanding, and, you know, I please, not saying that I am the authority on this at all. I am just giving you my understanding of things. So a flip out or a fold out is just literally what it sounds like. It's just a piece that folds out or flips out. And again, they can take any form. It does not have to look like this. It doesn't have to fold in, you know, into three. It doesn't have to fold off of the page. It doesn't have to be glued in. It's, you know, anything you like. If it folds, to me, that feels like a fold out. Then you've got kind of book page pockets and things. So this here, I mean, this is a super basic book page pocket. It's just literally a pocket, but it's made from book pages. So that's kind of some of the terminology that you're going to come across. I think that's probably, yeah, that's probably pretty good summation really of the types of things that you're going to hear about. I mean, you then have things like altered paper clips, which of course, you know, the name, as the name suggests, they are paper clips which have been altered with things basically stuck onto them. This one here is a banner paper clip because it's got these bits in the shape of a banner. Again here, I mean, I've got this, which is again what I would interpret as a flip down or a flip out, and it's just literally some coffee dyed paper. It's flipping out, so hence the name. And it's a flip out in the style of a little envelope. And that can just tuck in again to this, which is like a tuck spot because it's just attached on two sides. You've got ruffles, obviously. Now, again, ruffles, you know, completely can be however you like. Mine tend to be stitched on the sewing machine. They don't have to be. You can staple your ruffles. You can glue your ruffles. Completely up to you. And all of the things that I'm mentioning, there are a ton of videos doing tutorials. I mean, all of the paper items that I've mentioned are all in my mass making. So I have got a playlist called Mass Making. All of these types of things, these are, you know, tutorials in the mass making series. The ruffles, I do not have a tutorial for. I have been asked, and, you know, by all means I can do one. The only reason I haven't is, to be honest, that my method of stitching ruffles is probably not the best / safest. I am not great with my sewing machine, so I would hate to cause anyone to have an accident by following my method of sewing ruffles. But there are some wonderful ruffle tutorials out there. So that's those. I think that's kind of pretty much it with regards to terminology. Other things that you're going to hear kind of talked about is things like paper bags, glassine bags, sewing pattern paper, things like this, ephemera. So again, you can incorporate original ephemera, kind of, you know, vintage pieces that you've picked up maybe at car boot sales or at a flea market, or, you know, I know in the US they have things called estate sales, things like that. Or of course you can, you know, purchase ephemera online, you know, original ephemera, or of course you can use digis. So, you know, that's what kind of this is here. So that's another thing that you're going to hear mentioned. So yeah, that tucks back in there. So I'm just going to move this to one side, and then we'll just literally go over one or two more things of, you know, just things that you're going to find handy if you're starting off on the junk journal, you know, junk journal world. So many things in junk journals are created using envelopes. So having a supply of envelopes, and, you know, quite often you can buy like a batch of envelopes maybe in a second-hand store and things like that, you know, old envelopes and things. They are really handy to have, you know, absolutely, you know, very, very handy to have. Things like paper clips, and again, oops, I'm just filling in some paper clips here. Again, they come in different sizes. So you've got these kind of massive ones, you've got like the medium type size, and then you've got obviously smaller ones. Again, they're going to be really, really, really handy for your junk journal making, because, you know, then you don't have to glue everything in. You can obviously paper clip it in, which is really great for keeping your bulk down in your journals. I obviously am addicted to using lace. So for me, lace is a kind of, you know, just a given that I'm going to be using lace. And again, the lace can take any form. It can be from old clothes, you know, anything with maybe a lace collar or, you know, a lacy blouse or something like that. You could use old neck curtains, you know, children's clothes, baby dresses, things like that. They often have, you know, lace and things in them. You know, you can purchase, you know, brand new lace as well. So anything at all that you fancy having. Again, the same with fabric. You may want to have kind of a variety of different fabrics that you can use. Again, maybe old dresses, old, you know, old clothes, things like that. So there's some of the basic things that are good to have. Of course, you're going to want to have glue. Now, I use Anita's Tacky Glue, which is this. Hold on. Anita's Tacky Glue. I get this from a shop over here called The Range. I have used this for years. Now, I have struggled at times to get this out the bottle, and I know that lots of you think, oh, stop using that glue. I continue sticking with the glue because I find this the best glue. But that's my personal opinion, and I know that many people have their favourite glues, which are different to this. So again, finding the glue that really suits you, you know, is really, you know, going to be kind of helpful for you. I find it's this, but, you know, go with whatever glue that you like. So that's the glue that I use. Now, to overcome my getting the glue out of the bottle, I was gifted some of these Sugar Bell bottles, and please excuse the filthy state of my bottle now. It's obviously covered in glue now because it's obviously used like very heavily every single day. But I was gifted some of these, what they call Sugar Bell icing bottles. I have since bought some more of my own because, you know, they don't last that long. I mean, if you look after them quite well, they last reasonably well. But they're not going to last forever. So I've purchased some more. I got mine from Amazon. If you type in Sugar Bell icing bottles, then you should be able to find them. I know that lots of people, sorry, I can't resist picking the glue off. off of the nozzle. I know that lots of people use these, and so I'm sure that this is nothing new to you. But they really are great bottles because they really take all the pressure out of squeezing your bottle. You know, once you've transferred your glue into here, the glue's going to ooze out very easily, which is fantastic. So that's the glue that I use. I also use Fabri-Tac, and again, whoops, Fabri-Tac, you can use Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1. It's made by Beacon. So again, if you search Beacon Fabri-Tac glue or Beacon 3-in-1 glue, you should get it come up. Again, I can buy it over here in the UK on Amazon. I haven't really seen it in many shops over here. They maybe sell it in Hobbycraft. I don't honestly know. But I haven't seen it in many shops. But again, the Fabri-Tac actually is really, really, really hard to squeeze from the bottle. And after I had been using Fabri-Tac for a little while, I found it was really beginning to hurt my thumbs. So again, I ordered these Sugar Bell icing bottles, and I've transferred it into there. And then it's literally a dream. It just comes out wonderfully. So that's those. What was I going to say about that? Oh, the Fabri-Tac. The Fabri-Tac and the 3-in-1, I interchange. I just order whichever one I can get cheapest. Sometimes the Fabri-Tac's cheapest, sometimes the 3-in-1 is cheapest. So I just literally buy whichever one is cheapest at the time. But it is not particularly cheap, I have to say. So I tend to then only use the Fabri-Tac for fabric. I don't glue paper really with Fabri-Tac because it would just be very, very extravagant. So that's that. The other thing that I really love to use is my hot glue gun. Again, excuse the filthy state of it. It's, you know, as soon as you really get these, within like a week, they look like this. With glue and things all over them. You know, it's just one of those things that happens. Mine is a Bosch Hot Glue Gun. It's called a PKP 18E. I love my glue gun. I love it so, so much. And this is, I don't know, maybe my fourth one or something. I love it because it's got this long nozzle. I'm not going to touch it because it's plugged in at the moment, so it's super hot. But it makes it really easy for gluing things down. I've had about 4 of them, I think, because they, again, don't last, you know, too long. I mean, I think my last one, I did get from Amazon. I think it was like about £19. They last a reasonable length of time for that money. I have mine on every single day. I mean, every day that I craft, my hot glue gun is on. So it gets an awful lot of use. And I would say, yeah, they maybe are like 18 months-ish as the lifespan, which I don't think is bad given how, you know, frequently it's used, to be honest. So that's my hot glue gun. Then you're going to want to get, you know, a nice pair of scissors that you get on well with. I love those 3-pack of scissors from IKEA. I know I've said all this before. But the 3-pack, cheap 3-pack scissors from IKEA, I think they're like £1 for 3 packs of scissors. And you get this big pair and then you get 2 smaller pairs. Personally, I just take the 2 smaller pairs straight out and, you know, put them down in the kitchen or, you know, give them to my daughter to use. I don't really use those at all. I love, love, love the big scissors. These are, again, personal choice. I love the big scissors. I know that lots of people use the smaller scissors. Personally, I can't really get on very well with smaller scissors. But play around and find what suits you best. Because just because I get on best with the big scissors, you know, you might not. So, yeah, get a nice pair that you're, you know, comfortable with. The only other thing really that I'm going to kind of mention is the Tim Holtz Distress Ink and your blendy tool. Again, please excuse the filthy state of my distress tool. Again, it's very, very, very overworked. So this is Distress Ink. It's Tim Holtz. I'm sure that, you know, pretty much all of you have probably seen this before. Vintage photo, that's the go-to colour really to get your things looking lovely and aged and grungy. Yeah, so again, you can get this on Amazon, and then the blendy tools themselves, they have a replaceable blendy tool end, blending tool, blending sponge, And all of that's available on Amazon, on, you know, eBay, all different places you can get them. So just, you know, shop around and find the cheapest place really for you. So that's kind of going to be your magic ingredient for making everything look vintage. And yeah, the only other things probably to cover, and I should have probably covered this when we were looking more at the journals, but the pocket styles and things like that, there's numerous different pockets and things. So there's far too many to be able to kind of go over here, because I would be here like all day. I mean, I think I'm up to like week 86 or something in my mass making. And, you know, we've done something different every single week. They haven't all been pockets, of course they haven't. But they, you know, a lot of them have been pockets. So again, you know, have a look. I've got obviously my mass making playlist, but again, you know, don't be limited, you know, to just me. There's hundreds of different tutorials and ideas and things like that for different pockets and things. And most are fantastic and, you know, really super easy to follow and things like that. But, you know, familiarise yourself with some different pockets and things, because that's going to, of course, add to some nice interest to your journal. And, you know, just because some of them look quite fancy, they don't need to be, you know. I mean, especially any that I tackle, they're not difficult at all, because I only do easy things. So this one, for instance, I mean, this looks to me like quite a sophisticated pocket. This was taken from Dee Dee Farago. It was her idea for a pocket. Looks very sophisticated to me. It couldn't be more easy. It's literally an envelope covered with some paper. But how awesome does that look? So, you know, have a look and kind of, you know, get some sort of ideas for pockets and things. And then the only other two kind of things that I thought would be worth just mentioning is, again, you've got, you know, you're going to hear kind of quite frequently is journaling cards and tags. For me, you know, a tag is typically tag shaped, although that's not strictly true, because quite often I make rectangular tags, you know, without the corners clipped here. Again, for me, there's no rules at all. You know, they're kind of interchangeable, really. The only difference, you know, that I think really is, for me, a journaling card is typically, you know, rectangular, you know, possibly, I don't know, maybe circular or oval or something like that, but just not tag shaped, if that makes sense. But, you know, don't get kind of caught up on, oh, is it a journaling card? Is it a tag? You know, just go with whatever you fancy. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You know, they're just interchangeable pieces, really. So yeah, you're going to hear those types of things, you know, being said. And then the only other thing really is, obviously, you're going to then get, you know, things like this, which this is a printable, but you can get these from, you know, scrapbook packs and things like that as well. And again, these you can use then as journaling cards. So you don't even have to make journaling cards. You can obviously use, you know, existing things as your journaling cards. So I hope that that was helpful. I mean, I really hope it's given you some kind of, you know, ideas and clarified some of the terminology and some of the things that you might hear in the junk journal world. And the only other thing really left to say is, I'm just pulling it in. As I said, I started my junk journal journey by making an altered book. This here is the altered book, which I thought I would love to share making with you guys. I've picked an altered book because, you know, as I say, that's how I started my junk journal journey. And I just thought, you know, it would maybe be really super helpful for you guys if, you know, if you're getting onto your journey of making journals, because I know that a lot of you are, you know, comment often saying that you've made a lot of ephemera, but you still have yet to actually make your first journal. So I really hope that this series is going to be super useful, and that you're going to end up with something that you absolutely love and cherish. And yeah, I hope you're going to join me for the series, and we're going to have like a ton of fun. And yeah, hope that you find this beginner series super helpful. So thank you so much for joining me for this waffly video, but I hope that it was useful. And yeah, thank you so much, and see you guys soon. Have fun. Thanks, Em. Bye.